What is up, everybody? Welcome into Biscuits with Bama, powered by Tide Talk Live. Stacey Blackwood, joined by Jake Thomas as we get you ready for Alabama's 11 o'clock kickoff up in Lexington against the Kentucky Wildcats. I apologize. I am battling a sinus problem this morning, so I'm going to try to power through this show. Looking forward to kind of breaking down this matchup with you guys this morning. So if you're watching this right now, jump in the chat. Let us know your thoughts and opinions on the game. Cannot wait to see what everybody thinks. Also, the smoke detector in this room has decided that the battery is going to die today, so it's going to be beeping throughout the show, and I apologize for that. So it's not been a great morning for me. So thoughts and prayers would be appreciated. Jake, how are you this morning, buddy?
Man, I'm doing great. I got my two cups of coffee in me. Probably still need to get another. Um, I'm excited for this game. My first initial thoughts is I want to see how the energy level is starting out because it's been an early game. A lot of people, including myself, have been saying this feels like a trap game scenario. I just hope we come out strong. This is the game where we need to put 60 minutes together and see what kind of football team we have. So that's just my initial thoughts on it. Stacey, other than that, I'm doing great. How are you doing besides all the things that you are mentioned?
No, I'm good, man. I can't complain one bit. Yeah, this game is huge, Jake, because like you mentioned, early kickoff on the road against a team that, they're a good team, but Jake, they're inferior. They're not LSU, so you don't have that, you're not looking for revenge from a loss last season. So you're coming off that high of a big-time win, a 14-point victory over LSU. So there's just a lot of things that are working against Alabama to try and, create the type of motivation and attitude that you got to come in with this game in. So because Kentucky's going to be fired up, Jake. They have a chance to, kick somebody off the mountaintop. So they're going to be fired up. Alabama's got to come out with the right mindset, like you said, and play focused and play a 60-minute ball game and kind of, for other reasons as well, to kind of show the committee that they are a complete football team. Because if you look at the rankings, Jake, and I know it's still early, the fact that Alabama and even Texas are behind Oregon at this point, first of all, is stupid to me.
Yep.
Because Oregon has beat one ranked opponent, and every other opponent that they have wins against does not have a winning record.
Right.
So, either strength of schedule and opponents matter or they don't. Apparently, they don't matter to this committee. So I don't even know why Alabama decided to schedule Texas.
Yeah.
They could have scheduled Texas, San Antonio, and they're sitting here at 9-0. But it's just that part is just so frustrating to me because they say one thing, but they mean something else. So anyways, but so it's a good opportunity for Alabama to put a 60-minute performance together on the road against the SEC team that has a winning record to kind of build that resume up just a little bit down the stretch.
Yeah, absolutely, man. We could talk about the committee all day because they say some things that matter, but then they go against what they say and stuff like that. But that's another topic for another day. We could spend all day talking about the committee and how lackluster it is. They are at doing their jobs. But
yeah, and we're going to dive in the game in just a minute. But I don't even want to look around the SEC too much. I want to look at Missouri, Tennessee, and Ole Miss, Georgia, just for a couple minutes, Jake.
Yeah.
I think Missouri is a team. They played well against Georgia last week over in Athens. Now they get Tennessee, they're starting to play a little better following that loss to Alabama. That's a very intriguing matchup. And I'll be honest with you, I would not be shocked if Tennessee went up to Columbia and beat Missouri.
Yeah, I agree, Stacey. I think Tennessee can do that. Their defense is, it's not great, but it's good enough to hang in the game with, and stop Missouri for a couple of series. I just don't see Missouri's, defense really stopping Tennessee's if Joe Milton's doing what Joe Milton can do, and that is what he needs to really be doing. It's kind of like what Milroe's been doing, is run the football and then take the short intermediate passes when you have that opportunity, and then take deep shots when they're there, given the opportunity.
Yeah, I think that game is going to go a lot like the Tennessee-Kentucky game went, where you saw Tennessee's ability to run the football kind of take over that game in the second half. And I think that's going to be the difference in this matchup as well, Jake. I just think there's going to be too much ground attack from Tennessee, and they're going to get the win. And that would help bolster Alabama's resume once again. So as bad as I hate to, I'm rooting for the Vols to beat Missouri today. Jake, Georgia, Ole Miss tonight, just an incredible matchup there in Athens. Has Georgia played a road game this season?
Good question. I'm not sure they have or not.
I think they got a road game next week, but
That's it.
I turn on Georgia, they're playing at home.
Right.
But a big time matchup, Jake. I'm really intrigued by it. But I'll say this: Lane Kiffin, and he could prove me wrong, but Lane Kiffin over and over again in big games against teams that he probably shouldn't beat. They get tight, they play tight. Their play calling is questionable. And if they do that, Georgia's going to beat them, Jake. They'll beat them by a couple scores. So it's going to come down to how Lane Kiffin and this team plays and coaches, because I think they can hang with Georgia. But even at their best, I'm not sure they can beat Georgia because Georgia's playing really good right now. I know Missouri kept it close last week, but I think Carson Beck is playing better than most people realize. They got some weapons. I think Brock Bowers is potentially back tonight for Georgia. So I don't know, man. This game is tough to pick because I do like the motivation factor from Lane Kiffin and how he's got these guys playing. They're kind of finally healthy on offense as well. So, but I just got to go with Georgia and Kirby Smart, Jake. I just feel like the home team is going to be too much for Ole Miss. The home crowd is going to be too much for Ole Miss to overcome. And I think Georgia wins this game, probably around 34-27, 34-24, something around that. But I think it's going to be a great football game, and I'm looking forward to it tonight.
Yeah, I am too, Stacey. And the thing about this game, I think it's a 10-point spread, or maybe 11.5. I can't remember exactly, but I feel like Ole Miss can cover the spread. I just feel like Georgia's still going to win. But the big thing about this game is I'm not sure Georgia has seen an offense as good as Ole Miss is yet this year. So, early on, I feel like Ole Miss, will probably get a couple of scores, in early. And then that Georgia defense starts settling down, starts playing. Ole Miss may get another 1 or 2, 3 scores, but I feel like their defense is not going to be able to stop Georgia's offense from scoring at will either. So that's how I'm kind of like you. I think Ole Miss can cover the spread, but they lose by 7 to 10 points. And, it just has that feel.
Well, and you mentioned the start of the game for Ole Miss, Jake. That is going to be so huge for how they can kind of stay in the game, because on those scripted plays, those drives have to end with points, and really they need to end with touchdowns.
Right.
Because I'm with you. Over 60 minutes, I don't trust Pete Golden and that defense to get the stops they need against Carson Beck and that offense. So I'm with you. I think the start for Ole Miss is going to be critical, and they have to end with points. And they really need to end with touchdowns if Ole Miss wants to hang in this game for 60 minutes.
Yeah, I agree, Stacey. It's going to be a fun game. It's a good night game. We got Alabama starting, and then the 2:30 game. I forgot who that is. It might be Tennessee, Missouri.
I think it is.
Yeah.
I think it is.
And then we've got that night game. So, just like last week, we got games from all day long to watch. So it's going to be a fun game, fun day to watch some football, So.
No doubt about it. All right, Jake, kickoff is in an hour and a half between Kentucky and Alabama. Looking forward to that matchup. Jake, I guess, we usually do like keys to victory, players to watch, bold predictions, and score predictions. So we'll start with keys to victory. Just instead of going for each side of the ball, just overall for Alabama, what are your keys to victory?
For me, defensively, it start out as the offensive line has got to play up to their standard today, because Kentucky, they run the ball. Ray Davis is an elite athlete at running back. He can break a couple of tackles. We need to contain him, and I feel like it's going to start with the front seven. When they run the ball, we're going to have to get them down. And Tim Keenan and especially Justin Aboybe is having a fantastic season so far, and I feel like he's going to continue that. There's a lot of talk about him moving up in some draft boards, and they interviewed him, I think, Monday, and they was asking him about it. And I love this mindset. It's just a Saban mindset as a Saban player since Saban's been there. He said, "I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about Kentucky. That's what my focus is right now." I love that. So, I feel like the guys are mentally focus for this game and for the rest of the season. We just got to go out there and, like we talk about every single week, Stacey, execution. As long as we execute the way we can, nobody in the country is beating us. That's just my personal opinion, and maybe right, maybe wrong. That's just how I feel. I don't think there's a better team in the country, especially right now, than Alabama.
They're certainly up there with the top dogs. I agree with that 100%, Jake. I think this team is turning the corner. I still don't think they've achieved their best yet. So, if you're looking for some good news, I think that's great news for Alabama. Their best is yet to come. I really believe that. I think the offense can still be a little more consistent. I think the same thing for the defense, even though the defense has played, especially in the second half of games, has just played at an elite level this season. So I'm with you, Jake. I think it comes down to defensively. The front seven is going to be key. Deontay Lawson's out. Jalen Key is out. So Jahad Campbell, Trez Marshall, maybe even Kendrick Blackshire, they're going to have to play good football in the box and contain Ray Davis. Do not let him get comfortable and get going in that ground game. So the play action passing game does not open up for Devin Leary. And they have some good weapons at wide receiver. So they got Robinson, they got Varian Brown. So they have some playmakers at receiver as well. So it's critical for Alabama to stop the run and force Kentucky to be one-dimensional. If they can do that, we've seen this secondary for Alabama just lock folks down. I mean, I know Malik Neighbors got his last week, Jake, but the difference in that game, Jake, was the fact that nobody else did anything for LSU out wide. Right. So, when you play elite offenses like LSU has, you have to take away something. And what they took away was the running attack from Logan Diggs and the other playmakers outside of Malik Neighbors and Jaden Daniels. So I think what this defense needs to do, just remove Ray Davis from the equation.
Yep.
Make Devin Leary make the plays necessary down the field against this really, really good Alabama secondary. And I think if they do that, they're going to be just fine. When Alabama has the football, Jake, I think it's just about execution, Jake. It's about doing your job, about the offensive line blocking who they're supposed to block. It's about the backs hitting the holes they're supposed to hit. It's about receivers creating separation. It's about Jalen Milroe making the right decision with the football, whether it's, throwing it to the right route or taking off when he's getting pressured. It's about, executing the design quarterback runs the right way, whether it's blocking or reading the right gap. So it's just about execution for these guys, Jake, because like you said, they're talented, they're explosive, they can make plays. It just comes down to the little things, executing, no pre-snap penalties, don't get in third and longs. And I think this offense and this team as a whole can have a lot of success.
Yes, I want to follow up of what you just talked about, especially the QB runs. When you are out wide or at a tight end, you have that QB run, it's crucial that you block your man. And we saw that last week on one of the scores that Milroe had. I think we had Burton and Niblack out there blocking their tails off, maybe Robbie Oots as well. And, I mean, even if you're not getting looks in the offense because you just, for whatever reason, at least go out there and block your man. Don't feel sorry and I guess getting your feelings. Go out there and still do your job. You're still helping the team. I feel like that is different than years past. I feel like years past we had people who wasn't doing their jobs because they was upset they're not getting looks or whatever. This team is focused and just do your job and everything will work out for the right reason. And so far it has.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I like this team, Jake. Me too. At this point in the season, even in 2021, Jake, when we made the SEC championship game and the national championship, I didn't feel as confident in the mental makeup of that team as I do this team. I just feel like this team is mentally strong. I think they have the right mindset, and I'm confident this team, is going to do the right things, to do the little things right, and to accomplish what they want to accomplish. So I'm with you there. I like the mindset of this team moving, throughout the season down the stretch. So a lot to look forward to there. All right, Jake, players to watch in this game. Who do you have your eyes on both offensively and defensively for the Crimson Tide?
Defensively, I've already mentioned him, Justin Borgby. I feel like we've said many times, he's having his best season at Alabama. He continues to get better. There was a play last week where they tried to put a tight end on him to block him, and I think it was on the third down and maybe one or two where they was trying to to move the chains. He just absolutely obliterated that tight end and took down the ball carrier. And I think they had to settle for a field goal, or it might have been the fourth down play they got stopped. It was one of the two, but it was a big moment at that time because it was in the first half. I do remember that because LSU was just running up and down the field on us. We needed a stop and we got the stop. So he's playing out of his mind right now. Tim Keenan at one point was on his knees in that game and still made a stop. I don't know how he kept his balance. I feel like the defensive line as a whole needs to play good today, but I got my own on Justin Boydby. And offensively, I'm going with Roydell Williams, man. He was running hard through the hole. I love Jace McClellan, but it just seemed like the dynamic offensively changed when Roydell, come in the ball games. He was hitting the hole hard, and I mean, he was just running out of his mind and running people over. You love to see that. You got a boost of energy on the offensive side of the ball. And an X factor on another guy I'm looking at is the guy that you had pointed out just a few minutes ago on Twitter, and that's Jaden Roberts. Man, that offensive line, since he's come the right guard, has just played out of their minds, and it seems like he's the glue that's made them better. And he is just an absolute bulldozer on the offensive line, especially in the rushing attack. So I got my eye on him on the offensive line and Roydell in the backfield to get some big plays in today.
Yeah, the Bama Standard mentions Robbie Oots as now that Reese is being more creative, maybe an opportunity for him to run the football. That would certainly be interesting, especially down near the goal line.
Yeah,
he's a big physical guy. He's a throwback football player. Robbie Oots is so. And you mentioned Roydell Williams, Jake. He's playing really well, and I think, and I mentioned in an article I wrote this week for Roll Tide Wire how I think the three-headed monster of Jace, Roydell, and Jam is only going to help each of those guys play better because it keeps everybody fresh. It keeps everybody kind of hungry of when they get in the game, they need to make a play. So I like the way they're doing it. But I offensively, I got to go with Kendrick Law, Jake. I know. This dude is going to bust one, whether it's on special teams or whether it's on offense. He is going to get a big score for this team sooner rather than later, and it could come at any time, Jake. He is a touchdown waiting to happen.
Yep.
So I got my eye on Kendrick Law this week, Jake, as a guy, both as a receiver / running back / H-back, and also as a return guy. So I'm really watching him. And defensively, Jake, I want to see how they play in the secondary. Trey Amos, because with Jalen Key not playing, I expect Trey Amos to get a lot of action. So, is he going to get some matchups early in that game? Are they going to try to throw at him? So I'll have my eye on Trey Amos this morning as with Jalen Key out, probably moving guys around in the back end of that defense, and we'll see what Trey Amos can do as a starter for the Crimson Tide.
Yeah, Amos has played really well when he's been called on this year, and just another dynamic that we can do, defensively when we have somebody that gets hurt. Unfortunately, like Jalen Key, we can move Terrion Arnold to that position, move Amos at the corner, and I do feel like Amos when he's been targeted, he's played really well. They're not going to go on the opposite side towards Kool-Aid because that's just a incompletion waiting to happen or a turnover. So I really feel like I'm with you, Stacey. Amos is going to see a lot of action today. You may see a lot of action in the middle of the field as well. So I feel like the linebackers and those safeties need to be ready to play as well. So that's a good pick. Keep your eye on that secondary.
Yeah. Hey, listen, real quick note on Kool-Aid. I think he matched up against Neighbors 4 times last week. Neighbors had 1 catch for 3 yards.
That's awesome. They were trying to move Neighbors all around the field to get away from him.
Kool-Aid, I think it almost goes unnoticed of how good Kool-Aid is. He's just locked down, man. He literally takes a third of the field away every game.
Yeah.
John Danforth says, look, we should stop focusing on the community and focus on just winning. You keep winning and the rest works out. I'm so unhappy that I'm supposed to focus on what doesn't matter. Well, I mean, John, it does matter what the committee says because they're the ones who decide who gets in.
Right.
And with Alabama still behind 2 other 1-loss teams, there's a lot that has to happen. Winning out is the obvious. But if the committee, the fact that the committee has both Texas and Alabama behind Oregon, who has 1 ranked win, and all the other wins come against teams with losing records, is a joke.
It is.
So that's what Alabama fans are worried about. I mean, even if you win out, when you're still behind two other one-loss teams, and there's so many undefeated teams, it does matter what the committee is doing.
Right.
So the obvious is you win out. Of course, that goes without saying.
Mm-hmm.
But the committee is being
hypocritical.
They're being hypocritical, Jake. And you can't say that strength of schedule and who you beat matters when you literally have a one-loss team ahead of two other one-loss teams who have much better wins and a much better resume.
Right.
So I just that's why Alabama fans are talking about it, John. You obviously can't control what the committee does, but it matters what they do because they're the ones who literally decides who gets in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. Right. And going off of that, Stacey, Ole Miss, but Ohio State and Michigan play each other. So that's going to be another one-loss team to throw in the mix. So,
I'm sorry. I would have said, weeks ago, Alabama wins out and they're in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
With the way the committee's doing right now, I'm not so sure. There's a lot that has to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And like it's not right that the committee has Texas and Alabama behind Oregon, Jake. Texas should be 6, Alabama should be 7, and Oregon should be 8.
Right. Yeah, I agree 100%.
And if resumes don't matter, don't ever schedule another Power 5 out of conference opponent again. Please don't. Just don't do it.
No. Because obviously it don't matter.
Oregon's only win against a ranked opponent is Utah.
Right. And Utah's faltered since then. I mean, they've fallen off the map.
And they're playing without half their stars on offense.
I know. Right.
Yeah, Ben says the committee seems to be lost on how they are viewing these teams past the top 4. Winning out may not even be a marker to move up unless exactly that's the point. And that's why I think that the fact that Alabama and Texas both are behind Oregon is a travesty.
Mm-hmm.
Because it makes the climb that much more difficult when they've already proven through their resume what they deem critical factors, what the committee says.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. Yeah, I mean, I think teams are obviously going to lose, John. I believe that too. But like I mentioned, there's 2 one-loss teams ahead of Alabama right now. There should just be one. There should just be one.
Yeah. And again, what are they going to do once Michigan and Ohio State play? So they got to throw that game into the equation. So
right, I mean that's true. Let's say Penn State beats Michigan today, but and Ohio State wins out, but then Michigan beats Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
So both those teams have one loss. Michigan owns the head-to-head, but Michigan also lost to Penn State.
Right.
What are you doing with those 2 teams?
I know.
So it's just Florida State's undefeated. Washington's undefeated. Georgia's undefeated. So, I mean, look, a lot has to happen. Look, can it happen? Absolutely. We've seen crazier things. I just think that it's absolutely ridiculous that both Texas and Alabama are behind Oregon.
Since we're talking about the committee, we'll get back on the game in a second. I just want to get this off my chest and get your thoughts on it, Stacey, because I've talked to some friends at work this week about this. But, hypothetically, just say Ole Miss beats Georgia tonight. Alabama has the win over Ole Miss, but they have beat Georgia. But the committee also says that they view head-to-head matchups, take that into consideration because they have Texas above Alabama. Will they jump Ohio or Ole Miss over Alabama next week if this supposedly happens?
If they do, they're talking out of both sides of the mouth.
Thank you. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, and I'm not saying Ole Miss shouldn't jump Alabama. I mean, that would be the best win of the season for anybody.
Yeah.
So I couldn't argue for Ole Miss jumping Alabama, even though Alabama owns the head-to-head. But they haven't. Texas has not looked good since the Alabama win, Jake.
No,
Alabama's gotten better since the Texas loss. So by that, Jake, I don't know what the committee is going to do because they talk out of both sides of the mouth. What's good for one person is not good for the other, and they just, Jake, I don't trust them. They do whatever they want to do because there's no accountability.
Right. Since Alabama and Texas played, Texas already has a loss. Alabama has gone undefeated since then.
Absolutely, and looked better and played better.
Yep. I know yours is injured right now, but even with him being in there in the games, they have not looked that good.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, look, you can't control what the committee does, but we're just asking them to do their job
Right.
and do what they say they're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of, I mean, Michigan and Georgia both have schedules that rank either in the strength of schedules, either in the 90s or the 100s.
Right.
Do I think they're two of the best teams in the country? Absolutely. But their resume is nothing.
Right.
Is
Mm-hmm.
nothing.
Yep, that's right.
Now Georgia's and both their backloaded schedules. I mean,
Yeah.
they're playing good teams down the stretch starting this weekend, but I don't understand how they can say strength of schedule matters and then they just rank people at random.
Mm-hmm.
So
Absolutely.
anyways, let's get back to this game, Jake, and then we can wrap it up. Bowl predictions for this game, Jake. What's your bowl prediction?
I think you hit yours pretty much on the nail last week. You really felt Milroe was going to have a big game. He didn't really have in the passing game. He did have 219 yards, but did not make any kind of mistakes in the passing game, which is what we ask of him to do in situations like that. He didn't cause any turnovers. He didn't really. I think he had one throw where he was in triple coverage. I think other than that, it was pretty much he just moved the ball. But and then I think you said he's going to have like 2 rushing touchdowns. He ended up having 4. So I mean, you pretty much hit Milroe on the head, with your bowl prediction last week. Mine this week is I feel like one of these running backs is going to have 100 yards rushing this, today. I don't know if it's going to be Jace or Roydell, maybe Jam, but somebody I feel like. Other than Milroe, I feel like Milroe can also have 100 because he's just running all over the place right now. But somebody other than Milroe is going to have 100 yards rushing today. That's my bold prediction.
I like it. I'm going to go in the kind of the opposite direction. I think Jermaine Burton gets back on track and just roast this Kentucky secondary. I think he's going to go for maybe $125 and a score. And I think he has a big time game. And I think Milroe, after last week's incredible performance on the ground, kind of shows how he can sling that ball around too. So I think Milroe and Burton are going to get back connected again, and Burton's going to have a big day for this Alabama offense. All right, it is time for our score predictions, Jake. This is such a weird game because of all the external factors, because of the 11 a.m. kickoff. You're coming off that big win against LSU. Kentucky's, fighting to kind of recover because they've lost 3 out of 4. So it's just an interesting matchup, Jake. So how you think this thing's going to play out, and what's your score prediction?
Like I said at the beginning of the show, I want to see the energy level. I want us to come out of that tunnel fired up, ready to go, and then I want us to see that fire on the field. So if we do that, we cover, the spread is at 11. I really think we can cover that spread easily. And I still think we do cover the spread. I'm looking at maybe I would love to get back in the 40s in this game. I just don't know if we can. I think you're going to, I really feel like we may start out sluggish on offense, but we finally get it together like we normally do. But I'm going to say 35 to 14 Alabama is what my prediction is.
That's all. We're so close, buddy. I'm going 38-13 Alabama. I'm with you. I want to get Alabama in the 40s again. That'd be great. Yep. It's so hard. Kentucky's a good defense, Jake. They got a really good front seven. Yeah, a real stout defensive front. So they're going to play tough, Jake. So Alabama's going to have to hit some explosive plays to kind of open up and that defense. But I'm with you. I think 38-13 Alabama. I think the slow start could be there. But this team just proves to be a second half team. They make the necessary adjustments, and they come out and play well in second half and kind of run away with this game late in the contest as Jalen Milroe and this Alabama offense just continue to grow and improve, and this Alabama defense remains suffocating, especially in those final 30 minutes.
Yeah, man. Alabama definitely is a second half team this year. But I mean, the adjustments that are made at halftime are incredible. I mean, I think I saw something this week between the teams of LSU, A&M, Ole Miss, and Tennessee. Alabama's only giving up like 19 combined points, maybe less than that.
I think it's like 82-19 or something like that.
Yeah, I'm like, my gosh, I mean, that is incredible. I mean, I just can't say enough about Kevin Steele. The mindset that has changed and the aggressiveness since he's come back as a defense coordinator defensively. I mean, they're getting after everybody. Caleb Downs as a true freshman is ungodly good, man. I mean, he one play last week, it was a toss out to the right, and he read it perfectly. He got out there, and I think they only got like 2 yards out of it. He was the only one that could tackle the guy because everybody else is about 10 yards down the field. Open field tackling has been much better under Steele, especially this year.
I think you can chalk up the defensive improvement to two things. They do the little things right, and they make adjustments.
Right.
That's the difference, Jake. That for whatever reason, Pete Golden could not get either one of those two done on a consistent basis.
Right.
And that's what the difference has been this season for Alabama defensively. I think we see that again today. You mentioned Caleb Downs. I wouldn't be surprised to see him get a pick. Devin Leary is second in the SEC in interceptions thrown. He's thrown 7 this season. So I expect a turnover or two for this Alabama defense, and Caleb Downs could be a guy to take advantage of that. But that's going to wrap up our Biscuits with Bama preview show before Alabama and Kentucky kickoff in just a little over an hour up in Lexington. Thank you so much for watching, guys. We will be on the Bleacher Report mobile app at the conclusion of the game to give our instant reaction. So make sure you join us there as well. Been a lot of fun. Cannot wait to talk about the game afterwards. Jake, unless you got anything else to add, we're gonna head on out.
Yeah, man, get prepared for this game. You know, energy level. I think Bama Standard just said the energy level. I want to see the energy level. Come out of the tunnel, keep it all 4 quarters, and let's go out and get a big win today.
No doubt about it. All right, guys, thank you so much who watched us in the live chat. Really enjoyed that and the interaction there as well. We'll talk to you guys real soon. But until then, roll tide.
Roll Tide.